Hi, it's Susie from Pink Diamond Guide. How are you? Um, Back to talk some more about different strategies that Satan has in place to take us down on our journeys of ascension and our path into understanding who we are as the soul beings that we are and what we're here to do. We're here to ascend. So we start our lives in the afterlife, we come down here to the earth plane, and the number one job of that is for us to ascend to where we return to, is to increase the ascension ideal, is to improve our status in soul and in spirit. And, along the way, there's a force at play. You've got a positive force and a negative force at play that gets in the way of us doing that. But that we have lessons to learn from both the positive and the negative strategies. It's why creation exists. It's how creation exists. But if we can be very, very aware of the tactics that Satan and his army use against us, we can actually employ the weapons that are available to us in order to defeat the forces of evil. And I mean, this sounds like something fresh out of a movie, right? Like some science fiction, or like watching movies where demons are fighting angels just does not feel like something that's seen on an everyday scale. But we feel the effects of it. We see it in people suffering from things like depression and anxiety, and falling into behavior that destroys relationships, whether it's cheating, lying, addiction. There's a bunch of different negative traits associated with how these strategies play out. So we might not be seeing winged beings flapping around our ears or gnashing of jaws in of the devilish variety, but this battle is playing out. It's very real. It's playing out for your soul. And in the previous video, audio, it's just kind of recording my thoughts as how these are coming out. I talked at length about Jezebel, and I didn't go into the details of who she was as a person, and really I skimmed across the surface. So talking at length is probably not the right thing to say, but I opened the introduction. I opened the idea to Jezebel spirits coming after twin flames, and that in our connection we have experienced this at length. And I spoke to Ricky um, last night, actually, after I recorded it, and I said to him, look, I don't know how much of your story to tell in this, like how much of it is personal, how much do you want it held back, how much do you want to speak on your own behalf, which he intends to do. But he said, don't hold back. He said, don't hold back on what we've been through in the hope that we can help somebody else. So, in that spirit, I'm going to let you know that what has played out for us, since we met, we've been in a war with this Jezebel spirit. And the second, I mean, that's a strategy. There's a Jezebel strategy and there's an Ahab strategy, and both of us have been in this battle. And then the third level of that is the Cain strategy. So all of these are satanic strategies designed to keep you out of your blessing, particularly as twin flames. We are prime targets. Now, we've not held back ever. That, how Jezebel plays Ricky strings is sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's been what's been between us. It's what's held him out of blessings in life. Not just me. I don't just go, this is the only thing that it's affecting in his life. He lost everything that a person can lose. He lost it all as a result of this energy toying with him, leading him into temptation, and him not knowing how to fight against it or even what it was that he was fighting. And, we asked questions of narcissism, we asked questions of, what's wrong with you? Why can't you just snap out of this behavior? Because he clearly knew what he wants in life. He knows what he wants to achieve, but like this force that comes against him, comes against us, has been relentless. And the Jezebel side of it will lead you into situations that will be lustful, desirous. It's the sex, drugs, and rock and roll side of it that we attribute to this spirit. Um, and scenarios that come about and he's hurt a lot of people as a result of this, and this is something that he has to face, is how many how many people he's hurt as a result of it. Now, here's where the second part of the strategy comes in for Satan, and that's the King Ahab strategy. And it's someone like me who looks at what's going on, not for a second. Like, King Ahab was evil, 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 or lauded as the most evil king that ever existed. But the reason why is why it's a strategy against us. So don't think for a second that I think myself to be King Ahab. Like, I don't want to align with his energy. What I'm trying to do is avoid the strategy that Satan has that is aligned with him. So King Ahab was Jezebel's husband. He was the king, and together they had plots to destroy God's prophets. Right? It was a time where paganism was rising up, and things were going to and fro between paganism and following God's word. So he was amongst this mix, but he's married Jezebel, this character who had evil at her core, and you know, was not afraid to take someone's life in order to have gain in her own. And it speaks in the Bible that she was the one leading, because it talks about the men gathering at Jezebel's table, not gathering at Ahab's table. So where this becomes a problem, where we're looking into this energy, is looking at Ahab as a passive character, right? So all of these things were happening, and we see how Ahab did nothing to circumvent the struggle that God's prophets had with something like Jezebel. Like, Jezebel was on the hunt. I'm not going to go deep into research it yourself. If you're deeply interested in the biblical story where with these strategies come out of, the story is Jezebel, Ahab, Elijah, and that's the heart of it. Understand these characters as how they lived. Go look up the story more. I've placed them in history for you, right? Ahab was one of the kings. Jezebel was his wife. She was evil, and he passively allowed that evil to reign. Now, where this is relevant to us in this day and age, and why we call out the Ahab strategy, is because if you know that there's a force at play against somebody and you do nothing to circumvent it, then you fall into the strategy, the satanic strategy that is Ahab. So that is, and I can put it very much at the feet of me and Ricky. Like, I could have surrendered him over to Jezebel at any point, or to the Jezebel spirit, to the idea that he was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and he wasn't worth my time and energy. I could have done that. I didn't. I could push him away with regard to being in a relationship, because I didn't want those things taking me down on a personal level. But I never stopped fighting for his soul. I've never once stopped fighting for his soul, or I've never stopped once praying to Jesus for his salvation, or asking for the fight to move on. But these Jezebel spirits, they're bloody tricky, hey. And the harder you fight to bring God's word to the earth plane and to raise Christ consciousness up, the harder they come at you. Now, Ricky and I identify as twin flames, and we've had runner chaser cycles. We've been through it. We've run the gamut, but we continue to fight for each other, and can continue to fight for each other's souls. It's not just stopped at the point of going, well, I have to fight for you because I want a relationship. Can't you just show up and do the right thing? It's like, it's understanding there's a deeper energy at play. And if you're a twin flame and you're going through this, like, you hear plenty of arguments out there for going that the twin flame concept is just an excuse for narcissists and empaths. Like, for empaths excusing narcissistic behavior. Now, if that were just true, then I would have been long gone from Ricky's side. And we talk about it. I've walked away from other people for less, and he's been left for less. And whatever this thing is that ties us is bigger than both of us. And the fight that comes against us is venomous. Like actually being attacked by demons in my sleep, and his life actually going to rack and ruin because he follows the temptation laid before him. But his energy has shifted, and he's been fighting and fighting and fighting, and he's calling this out, not just on behalf of him and our connection, but for all twin flames, and for all divine masculine, and for all divine feminine, and for everyone who is to follow this path. Because don't think for a second that one soul on this planet is immune from an attack from a Jezebel spirit. And if you know that your person's under attack, or someone you care about is under attack, and you're a King Ahab, and you passively sit by and let that take place, then you're as guilty of the attack as the spirit is. Does this make sense? So, yes, it's a big call to ask people to rise up against this force, right? It's I equate it to Luke Skywalker gathering the army of the light to go up against Darth Vader and the Emperor, right? And go, somebody has to be the spearhead and say, "Oh, we're coming to fight," and the battle will rage in different places, whether it's on the surface with the planet with the Ewoks, or Luke's actually there with the lightsaber and fighting Darth. Like it's raging out. This spirit fights on multiple battlefronts, and it requires multiple people to stand up and expose it. And in talking about it together, going, as much as the world could want to call you out for speaking about it, maybe, I don't know, it is, to me, I just go, if I share how brutally we've fought this energy, and if I don't talk about it, and if I don't warn the next person about it, and I don't tell the next person how we've been fighting it and how we've been winning the battle, then I'm King Ahab. I fall into the strategy of the passive Ahab energy that allowed Jezebel to go after the prophets while he stood passively by, right? Do you see how the Ahab strategy is like it supports the Jezebel strategy? It's like not having the will to fight what you know is wrong, or passively standing by while you watch the enemy take hold and not doing a thing about it. So, I mean, this is largely why Pink Diamond Guide exists, is because this battle is very, very real. We've been in it for I don't know how long, and it still comes at us. It still comes at us, and here's where we get very honest. Since about October, like, it really came at us again, and we haven't run away from each other, which is what we've been sharing, is like we've still been living together, but I can't even begin to tell you the how dramatic that time has been, and the things that we've had to work through. Now, I have put the Jezebel prayer forward, and it's something that we use. It's on another playlist there on my channel, that you can, if you're in this struggle too, and your person is being attacked. I mean, some people are narcissists, some are, and this is not. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not any of those things that can diagnose a narcissist. What I'm looking at is the Jezebel spirit and how it manifests against people of the light, or people who are fighting to evolve their souls. It doesn't want us to get across the line, and it will attack. And the things, like, honestly, when it attacks through your eyes and through your throat, it doesn't want you to speak, right? It comes after your throat. And quite literally, one of the dreams I had that was particularly disturbing to me, and I just woke up terrified, right? It was so real, so alive, and so challenging to me. And I've had different versions of, like, it's been an ongoing fight, but this one has been a particularly disturbing one, where, like, the spirit that was in my dream was like trying to cut my head off with fishing wire. It had fishing wire around my throat, and it was trying to cut my head off, and it was saying in my ear that it was fighting me for Ricky's soul, that I could fight all day long, but it was never going to stop fighting, and that it was winning the battle because he'd gone back and he was drinking and he was doing things that put him back on that Jezebel path. So like the temptation had overcome and he'd fallen back into it. We're open about this. There's no point us lying to you and saying that this was not the reason that we come unstuck, because it was. It came after him. He fell into temptation, and when I tried to fight back, it came after me as well, but it comes at it in a different way. Now, other things played out that we go, was that did Jezebel take people from us? Did Jezebel hurt us in ways that we can't fathom? But it's been so challenging. You just couldn't even fathom how this battle plays out on this front. But the fight, he's fighting back, and all he wants to do is take it down and not we're always going to be in this battle every time, because we fight under Jesus' name, and we are fighting for Christ consciousness to return to the planet. We're twin flames, and we're bringing this template back to them. We are prime targets for the force that wants to stop us. So we know we're going to be in this battle for as long as we are. But I guess what we're saying is, if you find yourself in this battle too, let's talk about it together. And wow, the messages that have come down the wire to me in the past few days, like, we're not alone, are we? We're and connecting with each other, and giving each other strategies and strength to fight back against this force that wants to stop us is it's powerful. It's powerful. So I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm going to keep sharing what I know. I'm going to keep sharing what I'm struggling through, and we are going to keep pushing for the light and the truth to be shown. And I refuse to sit in the AHAB position. This is why the strategy is important. And if you're sitting as King Ahab, and you're passively allowing something to take out people you love, the fight is on to win it back. There are things you can do, right? And it's like I said, some people are narcissists, and this is not the fight I'm taking on. I'm taking on the fight of light workers who are being attacked by evil. So that is, that's where I'm at. And that's the second strategy that is coming against us. The third one is Cain. So it's going, the correction has occurred, right? The fight has begun, and we need to make changes. We need to make course corrections, and we need to rise up. So this is where I'm going to wrap this one up for today. And it is a very, very intense subject that I'm talking about. It's not one that I take lightly, and if it is something afflicting you too, I've shared the prayer over there, but definitely I'm here. Reach out. I will get back to as many messages as I can, as quickly as I can, to let you know that you're not alone in this fight. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up from there and say, on the AHAB strategy, it's in faith, hope, and love. It's bye from me for now.